Hello everyone, hope you're doing well. It's time today to talk about the MiG-17PF. This is a new vehicle that has come to Hungary in the Italian tree in the last major update. There is a vehicle which is exactly the same as it though, in a separate tech tree, which is the LIM-5P. This is the Polish jet, which is for East Germany in the German tech tree. And it was really weird when I played the LIM-5P, because back then it had a slightly higher BR, and also it felt really good. And the MiG-17PF, for me, is in exactly the same boat. This vehicle felt incredibly good to play at 8.7, maybe a little bit too good overall. What this vehicle does better than a lot of the other Soviet-era aircraft is it has the transition towards better guns and still keeps its ammunition. One of the problems with stuff like the MiG-15s and even the MiG-9s and a few others, they have this donkey 37mm and also their additional guns on top of it. Now, this is all well and good if you are decent at aiming and also understand the different muzzle velocities between the guns and use them at different levels, but let's be honest. Using a donkey 37 and two 23mm when the other option could be just having three 23mm is incredibly inferior. And the MiG-17PF improves on this with, of course, the 323s. So now you don't have to worry about the varying muzzle velocity, you can just shoot where the guns are supposed to go, and you don't have to worry about anything else. The other big upgrade over stuff like the MiG-17 and also the MiG-15 is the engine. This uses a Klimov VK1, which has a afterburning effect, giving it way more thrust than what you may have, and at the same time, the big difference for me between this and also the MiG-17 normal and the MiG-15 is the high-speed performance. The MiG-15 is a fantastic aircraft in the game. One of the problems it has, though, is it compresses very hard at high speeds. Its elevator kind of gives up, and also its ailerons also give up, which means that setting up kills you can do, but it's usually a secondary or tertiary hit. What I mean by this is when you go after an enemy, if you are in a high-speed pursuit, or if you're going in at high speeds, usually you have to correct yourself a few times in order to get the guns on target. So initial hit, person, defends by turning or doing whatever they do. You hit the vertical, loop down, lose speed, and then hit them on the secondary. Then if that doesn't work, you do that again. With the MiG-17PF, you don't have to do that, because the vehicle performs so much better at high speeds, meaning that you can get in and get out very quickly and do a ton of damage on the way. And that makes this vehicle so much more fun to play compared to many of the other vehicles around the place. And I just have a really good time with it. And I don't know why, because technically it's in that 9.3 BR range where there's a lot of monsters, but while playing this and also the standard G91Y, if I'm honest, I didn't really see a ton of those monsters. Instead, I saw a lot of 8.7 and a lot of 8.3 with the MiG-15 BIS, the Sabres, and also stuff, of course, like the A4, and you're just easily able to annihilate these things. Now, it does have a few useless features. Its radar is pretty much worthless. It does have a track radar on top of it, so you can kind of tell how quickly you are going to go on somebody, but understand in Air Realistic and Air Arcade this is kind of worthless. In Simulator, though, it does have a use, so at least that's there. It also doesn't have any secondary ordnance, so there is absolutely no bombs or rockets or anything on this. So this is purely, at least for me, an air realistic fighter, and that is probably why I enjoy it so much, because of the fact it's built for one purpose, and you can do that purpose really well. It glides through the air just fantastically and just generally feels really nice to go around. One of the problems with it only being built for one specific purpose, though, is every single modification this thing has is important. Remember how we talked about with the G91Y, where it's a vehicle which has a metric ton of secondary ordnance options, which you don't obviously need in Air Realistic, but are useful in ground, and that lowers the modification cost of the other modifications. The MiG-17PF doesn't have that at all. Every single one of its modifications, apart from EFS, is super useful for this vehicle. And also the new boosters modification is required to make this thing just flop about as you want it. I just had a fantastic time in this thing, and there's no real other words for it. The thing that just confuses me is I feel like I shouldn't be having as good of a time in this vehicle. Just like how when I played the MiG-17, I actually had a pretty horrific time spading it. It was in a really bad BR bracket at the time, and it just felt absolutely horrendous. But when I played the LIM 5P, which of course, you know, is the good old Polish one, I ended up 25 battles, 68% win rate, 73 air kills, and 10 deaths. So that was my LIM 5P stats, and whenever that came out a long time ago. And then now my MiG-17PF stats, 18 battles, 72% win rate, 41 air kills, 4 deaths. 4 deaths in 18 battles, 41 kills. So we're going 2.5 kills per battle, plus only dying, what, not even 20% of the time. It is just insane to fly for me, and I just had a great time with it. The only problem I actually technically faced with it was the fact that after spading it, I didn't actually get access to the MiG-21MF. Usually when you research and then spade a vehicle, you're able to research the one after it by the time you finish spading the first one. But for some reason that wasn't the case with the MiG-21MF, and I was about 50k off of it, which is why I ended up playing the G91Y. And let's be honest, that was probably a positive, since it was a pretty fun vehicle. I was looking forward though to the MiG-17PF, even though a lot of these Hungarian vehicles I played many times and already have kind of like opinions on them. The only thing that changes is of course the BR changes that have come in, and that, you know, fundamentally changes what you see. But for me, after playing the LIM, I'm very, very happy I played it again, and it didn't really take very long. It took about an afternoon to get done, and was able just to hammer stuff as we went around. Hopefully you guys can enjoy a plane like this, and maybe some of you can work out at least why I enjoy it so much. I think it might be the fact that it's just one of those vehicles that has access to every single playstyle you want, and it's more about what you are facing instead of what is coming at you. If you play against an F-104, you can easily turn with it and then set up a defensive loop and then shoot them afterwards. If you're facing stuff like an A4, obviously you can do whatever you want with it. If you're facing, you know, the Sagittario, you can go faster than it and then reset and hit it hard. You can just do whatever you want in this, and I prefer vehicles like that. Vehicles where you can take the advantage instead of worrying about the fact that, oh, this enemy just does this thing better than me and I have no counter, therefore I suppose I die. The MiG-17 isn't really in that boat, and for some reason for me, it feels really good for it. It's a perfect example of an aircraft which really shouldn't be that special, at least from the stats. But for me, and when I'm playing it, it feels great. As always, I hope you have a wonderful day, and I'll see you next time. I'd like to thank GMG Smiley, CD Beans, Chieftain Mike, EMN3 Gixie, Tulio Pontecorvo, Brendan Quinn, Carrion Crow, Gus Irenicus, Pyman, Wharton Dare, Teddy, Daniel Stanton, Martinez, B. Young, Ozzy Panzer, Alan Hacker, Liam Shear, Opium Prime, Lafouche, Sem Arslan, Uncle Bean, and Derek R. for supporting the channel.